there, Rip City. Welcome into Blazers Gameday. Chris Burkhardt here with you. Chad doing? Don't worry, he's not going anywhere. You're still going to hear him. He is turn off everything. Listen, see, rookie move, Burkhardt. I have my phone on, my computer on. I'm like, why do I hear my voice coming from 10 places? My goodness. Anyway, Chad, he's not going anywhere. Don't worry. He's going to be on the airwaves here at 3 o'clock. He's helping fill in for Mike Lynch today, so he's going to get your Blazers pregame show right after this, and we're going to get you ready for a little Blazers Cavalier action as the Blazers looking to go get their second win in a row. Now, I got to tell you, straight up, that intro that super producer Mike Oakes just played, shout out to him filling in for Shacker today, that gets me jazzed. That call by Wheels, Brandon Roy, I don't know why, it gets me going. And then, of course, you got the Lamars in there and everything. But that Wheels call, that's money. I'm not going to make him replay the whole intro. I need to go download just that part, though, just so I can play it for you guys whenever I want. Wheels would be happy calling the game on Monday, though, watching the Blazers pick up the 114-110 over the Indiana Pacers in what was a good bounce-back game for the Blazers. A game, really, truly they needed, especially after the way things went down in Milwaukee. That was pretty tough. The Blazers had a chance to upset Damian Lillard, their former star. They go into Milwaukee to face, one of the early betting favorites to win the NBA title. Now they're struggling a little bit out the gate, but they're still good. And the Blazers go up by 26 points. 26. And they lost that game, and then the Blazers had to turn around one day later and try to, get that taste out of their mouth, as they say, and they did in a great game against the Indiana Pacers. Picked up the 114-110 victory, and man, I got to tell you, that was an interesting setup that they had there, just because Malcolm Brogdon, late in the game, the way that he was able to take over, put the team on his back between he and Jeremy Grant, it was absolutely incredible. And I know that there's some Blazer fans who don't like that, right? They don't like the fact that Malcolm and Jeremy are taking over. They want to see some of these young guys, and they would rather see 30 minutes from Jabari Walker than 30 points from Jeremy Grant. Shout out. That's a direct quote from my man B-Mac, Brandon McIntyre, who he is straight focused on tanking and getting picks and getting better. And there's some people who would rather see that, but I'm not one of them. I would rather see this team put their best foot forward and try to win ball games. I'm not a fan of the tank. I'm not a fan of let's just go throw a guy out there for 30 minutes to throw him out there. I want to see the best players playing their best basketball, right? And Jeremy Grant and Malcolm Brogdon did that in Indiana on Monday. And it wasn't just those guys. DeAndre Ayton, man, 22 points, 13 rebounds. And for those of you who listened to Game Day, we got to my keys of the game. My keys to the game, and one thing I said was I want to see DeAndre Ayton get more involved. I do. I don't like the fact that against Milwaukee, I believe he had 6 field goal attempts. That doesn't do it for me. I want to see him get his touches and get in a groove. And then on Monday, what happened? He got his touches. 13 shots, and he hit those shots at a high clip, hitting 9 of those 13, 4 for 4 from the line, 22 points, 13 rebounds. I think good things happen when you get DeAndre Ayton involved. And, of course, Shaedon Sharpe continues to look a little tired. I'm not saying struggled yet, but he's hit that wall just a little bit early here in the season. The shot continues to struggle. He was 4 of 15 from the floor, just 1 of 3 from deep, 11 points. He's not bringing it as much offensively. Like, he's being aggressive. The shots just aren't falling the way they were early in the season. We'll talk about that throughout the show. And then, of course, Scoot Henderson. We'll talk about him more later in the show when we get to What's the Scoot coming up in the next segment and break down his game. But he did have a nice 13-point performance. And I want to talk about him because, man, it feels like there's a lot of people in Rip City who are already over him. Like, he's a bust. Nah, I'm not going to go that far. We'll talk about him. And you know who else had a great game? You got to shout out to Monty Kamara. Only 5 points, but he continues to be impressive as all can be on the defensive end of things. He has earned and kind of put a grasp on that starting small forward spot moving forward. Now, can this Blazer team put it all together for a second night in a row against the 10-8 Cavs on the road? That's going to be a tough task. Cleveland 10-8 is not where Cleveland thought they would be. I think at this point, I think they think they're better than that, right? But they're just still kind of struggling to find their groove too, right? To really get the wheels on the track moving forward. You got Donovan Mitchell, you got Mobley, you got Garland, you got Jared Allen, you got some really good players there in Cleveland. For some reason, they're just slow out of the gate. We've seen that before, like with Portland, right? How many times have we seen Portland come out hot out of the gate and then struggle the rest of the way, or vice versa, right? Slow out of the gate and then, struggle to come back after that. Like, okay, now we're going to figure it out. Now we get going. We'll figure that out. That's kind of what Cleveland is doing right now. To our YouTube chatters, though, first off, thank you for tuning in. Continue to listen in. Colby says the mic is just a little distorted. Turn down the levels. We're trying to figure this out, Colby. I'm going to be completely honest with you. We had this weird mishap with YouTube, the actual console that we used to broadcast, and had to do a super hard reset on it the other day, and it messed up all the audio levels. So even though they look good coming through, they're not sending out properly. So we're still trying to figure out that one. It's just a little bit of fine tuning, but thank you for letting us know. Worst case, grab that iHeartMedia app, turn the audio on that way, and then just grab the YouTube chat and just keep chatting that way. Then you'll get the great audio and the chat. But we will fix that audio, I promise you. Thank you very much for pointing it out. You're like the orb on the fifth quarter. I call him our offsite producer because he was always like messaging us like, hey, Burkhardt, fix the audio, do this, do that. And we got a much better setup right now for YouTube than we did last season. Last season was all run through my computer. I'm surprised that I didn't have extra duct tape or gaff tape holding it together. But the fact that you guys are there, absolutely awesome. So thank you, Colby. Also, Kirk, he points out that he's fine with Grant and Brogdon and getting those points and improving their trade value. And you know what's interesting, Kirk? I had this comment with one of my podcast co-hosts the other day. It's just the fact that some people argue that you should play some of these young guys. You don't want Jeremy on the floor. You don't want Malcolm on the floor. The last thing you want, speak of the devil, here comes the orb, my offsite producer. The last thing you want, Kirk, in my opinion at least, is to take those guys out of their natural spot, their natural rotations, just to throw the rookies out there and cause a bit of dissension within the ranks. Because you kind of saw it play out just a little bit with Damian Lillard. Now, Portland got the deal that they wanted, right? But if you were to go just say, hey, Jeremy, we're going to start Jabari instead. We want you out. We're going to limit your minutes. We really want to get these young guys a run. Well, then Grant's going to look at you and he's going to say, yeah, okay, well, then I want to be traded as soon as possible, right? And then once that trade request formally gets out there and people know it, okay, where's your leverage? Kind of the same thing with Brogdon. I think there's a little bit here to be said with Jeremy Grant more so than Brogdon. I think there is legit a chance that Jeremy Grant is here for more of this contract than you think. But there's also a chance he could be gone by the trade deadline, right? Because they are weighing a lot of options and they want to see what they have as they continue to build this team. And that's why I think that 5-year contract makes a lot of sense because you don't necessarily have to move on from it right now. And if you decide to move on from it at next year's deadline or even the deadline after that, it might actually increase in value because I don't see Jeremy Grant decreasing in production. I think he's a very good player. And I actually think, even though he's playing incredibly well right now, I think he's best suited to be a third or fourth option within that offense to where he just doesn't have to have all those shots all the time. And then he can still be incredibly productive, right? But I think he doesn't lose value because he's still going to have his shot. He's still going to be able to play. And 3 years left on a deal sounds a lot better, than 4.5 if you're to trade him right now. So I think they have options there because they can decide, do we want to continue to build this thing out with Scoot and Shea and have this true power forward starting next to him we feel comfortable in? Or do we want to end up trading him to bring in maybe a small forward next to him that we think would be a better fit, younger, what have you? I don't think there's an incentive to move off of him quickly. Malcolm Brogdon, I love because this whole leadership thing, I think he's doing really well. But I think that playoff teams are going to want him. I think they're going to want him. And I think come trade deadline, I think Joe Cronin's phone's going to be ringing off the hook for a lot of teams, whether that be if Miami is still in that hunt, whether that be honestly, a Milwaukee who could use that two-way guy. He couldn't tell me. I don't know who they would give up again. I apologize here because I'm not just giving you numbers and what would match up financially, but you couldn't tell me that like a team like Denver couldn't use a Malcolm Brogdon, right? Especially with the ups and downs and the possible injury stuff going on with Jamal Murray. Malcolm Brogdon would be a really, really nice fit there with the Nuggets. And I only bring that up because the point is I think there's playoff teams who are going to be a call-in Portland for Malcolm Brogdon. Jeremy Grant, they might be calling, but I just don't know what the true field is for him. It's going to be interesting to see how they continue to play this, though, because like Kirk says, after the All-Star game, play the pups. Play the pups. And they're doing a good job of playing them right now. So I'll ask you guys, and we'll go to break here in just a second. We'll come back, talk some more. But I ask you, put it in the chat. And again, if you're sitting here listening in your car and you're like, what chat is he talking about? It's YouTube. Go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, follow our page. You'll be able to see us streaming our live shows in the morning, in the afternoon, and these pre and post game shows. But I ask you, chat, what Blazer have you been most impressed with here at about the 20 game mark of the season? Who have you looked at and go, man, I love the way he's playing. I hope he's a Blazer for life. Type it in the chat. We'll talk about it when we get back. We'll also get to What's the Scoot when we return right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, it is time for What's the Scoot. So, what is up with the Blazers point guard of the future, one Scoot Henderson? And the thing is, people are a little upset with him. All right. I know that. People are looking at this. Oh, so good for him. He tied his career high, scoring it in back to back games with 13 points. Where was this big generational star we were promised? And I don't think that big generational star has gone anywhere. Like, I still think Scoot's going to be very good. All right. And I know that you wanted him to come out right out the gate and be an absolute star, but sometimes these things take time. I'm not ready to label this guy a bust after 18 games into the season, many of which he missed while dealing with an ankle injury, and is now playing at the highest level he's ever played with a team that's still trying to figure some things out. Do I like the way that he's constantly being used? No, that I don't like. As Kirk just points out, he's coming off the bench has been good, and I do like that. Coming off the bench, I think, has been really good for him. It does allow him to slow the game down a little bit. What I don't like when I talk about the way he's used is I don't like how he's being used off the ball so much. Like in the game against Indy, you saw situations where Malcolm Brogdon brought the ball up, right, and then Jeremy Grant brought the ball up. Like, I'm sitting here going, why is Scoot not bringing the ball up? But I also understand the tough part is, especially for him, is I think there's benefit into playing off the ball early because it's going to allow him to understand, okay, when I am running the point guard and Shea's playing the two, which I had been playing a little bit here early in the season, I know what cuts he's supposed to be making, right? I know when I call this specific play, where he's going to cut, what he's going to look for, when he might cut and fake and then cut back, and I can hit those passes. I like those. I like those a lot. Now, some people have decided that, early on, right? Oh, he's super athletic. He's like a Russell Westbrook type. He's like a Derrick Rose type. Now you're getting more of he might be, as Kirk says here in the YouTube chat. Again, go youtube.com, Rip City Radio. If you why is Chris saying random names? It's because of these wonderful chatters on YouTube who keep the conversation going. Maybe he's playing more like a Marcus Smart. And I mean, people get mad at that, Kirk. Like, really, Marcus Smart? We traded our generational talent for a Marcus Smart. I mean, Marcus Smart did just a handful of years ago win Defensive Player of the Year. So if you drafted at number 3 a future Defensive Player of the Year, that's pretty good. I have some people that I've heard who say, the early comps were Russell Westbrook, but now he might be like a little bit more of a Mike Conley. And I've heard people upset with that comp too. Like, again, we traded our generational player for Mike Conley. Guys, Mike Conley's really good. I mean, he's darn near 20 years in on this thing, and he is still the starting point guard of one of the best teams in the NBA right now. And he took Memphis to the Western Conference Finals at some point. So if that's what Scoot ends up being, that's still a win with your 3rd overall pick. The hard part about how you view Scoot Henderson is the fact that he is the first guy to come in and fill that spot. And even though it wasn't directly connected, it was still connected in the fact that he will always be part of the summer of Dame. So if he is not putting up those 50-point games, it might, well, really? We traded Dame for this? And that, to me, you just got to let Scoot be Scoot. I don't want Scoot to be Marcus Smart or Mike Conley or Russell Westbrook or Derrick Rose. I want Scoot to be Scoot. And I think Scoot's a really good player. I honestly do. I think he has the DNA. He has all the makings. I want to see it happen. Colby says Scoot's he's a player. He'll be doing the commercials for Jim's Original Steer. That'd be kind of fun. I gotta work on Pops to see if he can get the Scoot Henderson budget up in there. I like that. But no, I am not out on Scoot in the least. And again, I know some people are, and I know there's a level of frustration here because, as I've said, and some people don't want to hear it because they're like, "Oh, that's right, you're just taking like the positive approach," and it's like I'm sorry, guys. I got to try to be as positive as I can because no matter what, you guys could turn away at any point. I got to sit through all 82 games and watch this and find the things that I find positive. But I think Scoot's going to be just fine. I'm not worried in the least. He's going to be a really good player. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And then, you guys will all tell me I was wrong. But I think they're going to be just fine with Scoot. I like him a lot. What I would like to see over the next few weeks is I want to see him get to the point where he's getting maybe closer to that 30-minute mark constantly and consistently. Against Indiana, he only played 22 minutes, excuse me. And then I just want to see him get more shots. And I want to see him be put in positions where he can play more of a Scoot type of ball. Right? And that is attack. Get within the pick and roll. Get those things going that you want to see that made those G League highlight reels and see that. But at the end of the day, I mean, if Scoot ends up being a 20, 24-point, 11-assist guy, and he doesn't ever hit the 50-point mark or only does it once, unlike Dame, I'm fine with that because he's not Damian Lillard, and he doesn't have to be. He just has to be Scoot. Now, before we took a break, I did ask, what Blazers are you most excited for, most surprised with early here in the season? And a couple of you commented. If you didn't, go ahead and go do that. Now, Kirk says he is biased because he's on his fantasy team, but he does love Ayton, loves a center who can move, and he's only going to get better when Ant returns. Now, Kirk, I think that's interesting because with Ayton's another one. People are like, how come he's struggling? How come he's doing this? Because DeAndre Ayton's had to play large chunks of the season with all due respect, but Skylar Mays and Jeremy Minaya and a guy who's not even on the roster now, but he's on the floor with Jeremy Bouye. Like, how is he supposed to succeed? He doesn't have the true point guard there who's running the pick and roll effectively and knows what they're doing within those offensive sets, which, like, I think it's no shock that he had a much better game over the last few games with Malcolm Brogdon in there. And as you pointed out, when Ant gets in there, that's going to change too. And then when you find ways to get Scoot in there, absolutely as well too. And then looks like the Orb chimed in as well. Toumani Camara. I think he's kind of the consensus early on as I ask Blazer fans, like, who's been the biggest surprise? And that's my answer as well. Toumani Camara. He was the guy that you're like, okay, we got Drew Holiday, we got this, we're going to flip him, we're going to get Malcolm. But this Toumani Camara guy, I mean, he was a second-round pick. Like, he could have, who is he? What's he do? He's been really good. And I think a lot of that is because Blazer fans haven't had a lot of defense in the last few years. And seeing a guy play great defense, it's easy for you as a fan to just, latch onto that. And it's fun. Like, that's why I personally loved Wesley Matthews. I remember talking about it when I was covering that team. Like, there's something so cool about Wesley Matthews because there's very few players in the league that I watch that make watching them play defense fun. Like, I love just watching Wesley Matthews play defense. That's kind of Toumani Camara right now, too. I also think for personally that I think Jabari Walker has been really good. I think he's still another season removed. I think he's going to continue to grow this season and really continue to mature. Like, right now, he's like 10th guy maybe in the rotation. There's other guys there, especially on a fully healthy team, that might get more run. If he continues to improve like he already did this offseason, I think you could come into next season with him legit, a seventh guy in your rotation, giving you really big minutes, hitting clutch buckets, making clutch plays. That's what I want to see. I mean, he's looked really, really good so far in his limited minutes. So what else do you got here? Again, if you want to jump in, get your takes in here. You don't have to call. You could if you wanted, 503-248-0620. But you can also get in on the chat. Go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, join the ever-growing community that gets in here and, gets the conversation going. Loves to talk sports with me, so that's fun. Dirt Monk, who was also here this morning, he's always on the chat. Scoot's only 1 year older than Kamara. Like, Scoot's like, Scoot's a young guy. Like, you forget that when you're like, oh, these guys were born like post Y2K. Like, like what? Like, that's just wild to me. I don't know how to compartmentalize that as an 80s baby. It hurts my brain a little bit. Orb says he forgot Jabari was doing well. Yeah, he absolutely has. And so, and people have pointed this out, and I think this is an interesting point too. And maybe we're starting to see that identity, at least on the defensive side, And I know people say I don't want to give this coach the benefit of the doubt, but this really does feel like year 3, but a rookie year for Chauncey, just because it's so much harder to do that with that team that had no direction and was playing for the playoffs, and then midway through the season they're playing for a tank, and the direction is just no idea what's going on, and then obvious turmoil behind the scenes that has balanced out. They finally have a direction. They're doing their thing. I think you're seeing the fruits of those labors and that hard work paying off. Do I think Chauncey's good or bad yet? I know it's the cop out answer. I just don't know. That's why I watch these games and I just really try to pick apart where I'm seeing progress and if I'm seeing progress. And am I seeing progress right now? Personally, I say yes. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on Blazers Game Day. When we come back, though, we're going to hear from Coach Billups and DeAndre Ayton after that 114-110 win over the Pacers. Got a couple scoreboard reports to get to eventually, all that good stuff. Plenty of stuff to talk to. Also, get you ready for Blazers Cavs coming up here at 4 o'clock on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Welcome back into Blazers Game Day. Chris Burkhardt here, filling in for Chad Doing today. But don't worry, Chad Doing's not going anywhere. He'll be on the show here in about an hour. He's filling in for Mike Lynch on the pregame show. So he'll have your Blazers pregame show, and then Blazers Cavaliers take over at 4 o'clock with the voice of the Blazers, Travis Demers, and having a little bit of fun here. And I love the chat going on. You guys are being wonderful. I got to point out before we get into this audio from Coach Billups. First off, a Dirt Monk Fritz, which I know you changed your name, and I won't give away your true identity anymore. I really hope that's your gamer tag. That's a smooth gamer tag if you're a gamer. But he had me say, because he commented in the chat, again, YouTube chat, go there, youtube.com, Rip City Radio, join the chat, that Scoot was only a year older than Kamara. And I thought that sounded weird, but I still uttered it out, and he corrected himself. He meant Ant, and I was like, yeah, I think I knew what you meant, but it's always good to correct yourself. Now, Dirt Monk, though, I got to say, you made me think, because part of the name change and some of the heated debates you've seen in the morning show recently involving yours truly was about callers into the radio show, right? And how maybe some shows need them. And I was laughing, like, everyone calls, right? All the time, like, hey, it's Rip City Radio. And they're like, yeah, this is Ken in Vancouver. This is Chris in Portland, Tony in Portland, Tony in Boring, whatever. I think it'd be funny if people did start calling in and just give me their gamer tags, right? Their fake names, but just make them up like, yeah, this is Dirt Monk Fritz and Tigered. And I have to type that into the phone screener. And then Chad is like, what? So he answers the fifth quarter. He's like, all right, let's go out to Tigered where Dirt Monk wants to talk to us. Like, what? like, I just think that'd be funny. Yeah. Call in and just tell me your name is Iron Man 503. I'll type it in. We'll see what Chad says. I think more people need to start using their gamer tags, their social handles every once in a while. Have a little bit of fun. All right, now, that was my joke. I had to live a little fun. Doesn't always have to be basketball all the time. You guys are being spared. You're very lucky I haven't dove into a football conversation because I'm excited for tomorrow's game against the Huskies, being a Duck here. Very excited for that Pac-12 championship game. You know who else should be excited? Coach Billups. He should be excited that the night after letting go of a 26-point lead to one of the best teams in the league and walking out a Pfizer Forum with a loss that he didn't feel they were going to have early on, that his team bounced back the very next night against a tough Pacer team and got the win at the field house there. I say the field house, so they changed their name too much. I can't keep up. It is the most beautiful stadium in the NBA. I do believe that. Head out if you can. But he should be excited because they grabbed that win. So let's take a chance to listen to what he had to say following the Blazers' 114-110 victory over the Pacers.
It was awesome. You know, it was awesome. I thought we had a couple times down the stretch where we didn't show composure in this game as well that we got to talk about. But I think overall, you know, we knew what we were going to have to do to give ourselves a chance in this game, playing against a team that is so brilliant offensively like they are. We said we got to win the first 10 seconds of every possession. If we win the first 10 seconds, we're going to give ourselves a chance to win. And about for 70% of the game, we did. And that gave us a chance. And obviously we had some guys step up and be special. You know, Jeremy was and has been. He's just been incredible, you know, for us. Malcolm and his presence, DA, you know, he was a force the entire game. He was a force. And then our other guys they just chipped in and played well. You know, everybody did. But I was so happy for us defensively, you know, and what we did today. I'll be honest, there's not a lot of teams in the league that can do what we did today, coming off of such an emotional loss last night, being up 26 and them coming back and winning that game, last night, and then coming here against a team like this. I'm just so proud of our dudes, man. I'm so proud of them.
You mentioned their offense, and we talked about it before. They like to get out and run, push the pace, and they did that in the first quarter. It felt like it was a bit of a tennis match, but then as though you said, we're not going to let them dictate their speed, the pace they like to play. Was that something that you were focusing on at the first?
Well, it was, and you know, we play a physical brand defensively. You know, we want to get up and pick up and pressure you, and you know, we want you to know that we're going to be there the whole time. It starts with Tumani, on the ball at the start of the game. But yeah, we felt like that if we let them just rip and run and play the way that they want to play, they can score 150 on you. And that's no exaggeration. They can drop 150 on you. So we didn't want to be that team, and we're trying to establish ourselves as a really good defensive team. And I thought today was a really important step.
Up two with under 10. What was the plan? Was it to get it to Malcolm? And how much, I guess you feel so great about him taking that last shot, I have to say.
Well, there's not a lot of guys on our team, and we all know that have been in that moment a ton. You know, Malcolm has, Jeremy has, with the ball in their hands. And so, for us, you get it to a guy who's been in that moment that if he gets fouled, he can make the free throws, and if not, he can go make the shot for you. So we did that. We're successful, and Malcolm did a great job of using his body and his strength to get where he needed to be to make that shot.
All right, there you have it. A little bit from Coach Billups. And he said it right there. He wants his team to identify themselves through their defense, and they are. They're playing a very good defensive style lately. I like it a lot because I just feel for a while, as a Blazer fan, you just haven't had defense, right? Like, can they just stop the ball? Can they please help me out here? And they haven't been doing that. And lately, that has been the identity of this team, is playing very, very hard on that side of the ball, which you love to see. I asked this to Chad a couple weeks ago. I'm like, if you play the Denver Nuggets, do you know what you're going to get? Do you know their identity? Yeah. You're going to get a team that runs through Jokic. Defense is good, but they got a lot of good role players that are going to attack you in every facet, push the ball when they can. Jokic is going to look to make full court passes if he wants to. Do you know the identity of the Celtics and the Bucks and the Grizzlies? Absolutely. And for the last few seasons, I was like, the Blazers need an identity. What is their identity? And right now, if I asked you, what is the Blazers' identity? Do you know what you're getting when you play the Blazers? And the answer is yes. You're getting a team that's going to fight hard on the defensive end of the ball. And they're going to play with energy. And they might run out of gas late, which we've seen. But you know what you're going to get. You're going to get a team that's going to make you work. And I like that a lot. And the cool part about that is it's being led by a lot of young players. I mean, you guys forget, Matisse Thybulle, he's still young. Tamani Kamara, young, 23 years old, right? Ayton, 26. Jabari Walker, still young too. And you like to see that. Of course, young legs will work hard, right? So it's just nice to see that the identity is a thing. And it's exactly something that Coach Billups has wanted his entire time here. And now he's getting it. And we'll see where it goes. All right, now I said Billups wasn't the only guy we were going to listen to. We had to hear from DeAndre Ayton as well following the Blazers' victory in Indianapolis.
How much did you guys need this one tonight, and how proud of you the way you guys held on down the stretch?
We wasn't
Start that over. Sorry.
How much did you guys need this one tonight, and how proud of you the way you guys held on down the stretch?
We wasn't that loss we had in Milwaukee. We didn't let go of that on how we played. Unfortunately, it was a loss that that don't make you sleep. But at the same time, we did a lot of great things, as in defending the ball and competing with a championship team. Knowing that we are a team that's very inexperienced, but we competed to the best of our abilities, and we stayed together. And you've seen the inexperienced things down the stretch, but that's where we locked in tonight's game, where it was a close game throughout the whole game, and we tried our best to stay focused in the clinch time. In clinch time.
How did you personally take advantage of their defense tonight?
Just the way how they switched, the way how they was going, their pick and rolls. I was just making sure I got out of pick and rolls early and just tried my best to put pressure on the rim. Knowing that Miles Turner was a elite shot blocker, just trying my best to board and just eat up off the offensive glass when guards go in and they miss shots or he alters shots, and I could just put it back up.
What did you think about Jeremy's play tonight?
Amazing. Before halftime, I think after halftime, I think he had 15 points. I'm telling him, like, it was JG, we gotta get you going, man. And then he just took over the whole second half, through flow, through rhythm. Coach was writing up plays for him, and he was just, taking what the defense gave him, and we just kept hyping him up, but also just getting stops so we could go back down and, run our offense smoothly.
How much confidence do you have in Malcolm in a situation like that, up to with just under 10 seconds to go?
The reason why he's the sixth man of the year. He's just so poised, and he's a super vet. He's been on great teams where, he's been in a situation like that 1,000 times, and that's how him, and JG really, kept it like that. We've been here before, and we try to not speed up the game, but slow it down and get what we wanted out of this, and finish the game how we want to finish it. And that's what we did today, and I think everybody contributed the right way. The bench got us going. They kept talking to us and making it live, and just kept keeping our energy, knowing that this is not our home court, but everybody contributed to this win, who played, who did not play, and I just love that feeling.
And there you have it, hearing from DeAndre Ayton after that victory. And Kirk chimes in on the YouTube chat that DeAndre seems like a great dude. And I think it's really interesting because narratives follow players, right? And everything about the league and how it's covered is built on narratives. And the narrative around DeAndre Ayton was that he was, kind of a grumpy guy, that he, didn't always give his all, that he could have been the buzzword, locker room cancer, right? And then you really look at it and you look at the situation and it's like, no, I don't think so. I think that he just really got the short end of the stick and got mistreated in Phoenix. I mean, this guy was asked to do so much to, give up his game for the betterment of the team, and he did those things expecting to be rewarded, and then they didn't offer him that contract. The only way he got paid was going and hitting the market and signing that restricted free agent deal with the Indiana Pacers that the Suns matched. But in doing so, because it wasn't, the extra money that Phoenix could give him, lost money in the deal. Still got paid, right? But he sits there, he's like, I sacrificed for you. I did what you asked me to. And then when it came to put pen to paper, I had to put the pen to paper with someone else. And then you just agreed because it made sense. And then there was just so much between him and Monty Williams and what have you that change of scenery was needed. And since he's been in Portland, he sounds like a leader to me. And that was something that Flex in Jersey, who is in Phoenix covering the Suns, talked to us about how, he just thinks that honestly, when it comes to, the trade market and DeAndre Ayton, that Ayton just wants a spot where he could be a little bit more of a vocal leader. Like he wants to take that on. And he doesn't really have the chance in Phoenix, right? Because in Phoenix, you had Chris Paul, you had Devin Booker, you had Kevin Durant. Like, you don't need another vocal leader, right? You already had 3 of them. Really, you didn't need another one outside of Chris Paul. I don't know if he's going to let anyone else be a leader on the team. That's just kind of his job, has been forever. But here in Portland, he gets a chance to be that vet voice and be a leader. And I think he's done it very, very well. And to the people around the organization you talk to and the players that you talk to, they all love him. And I think he's been a great addition to the Blazers. And as this team continues to get healthy and build, hopefully he's a very long part of that future and gets closer to that 20-10 consistent number that I think he can get to. All right, I'm going to take a quick break here on Blazers Game Day. When we return, time to get to your Coors Cold Hard Truths. Still got keys to the games and some scoreboards coming up, so we'll get that all taken care of and get you ready for Blazers Cavaliers coming up on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Welcome back into Blazers Game Day. Chris Burkhardt here filling in for Chad Doing. And let's get to a little bit of a scoreboard report from around the league today. And not much to report because no games have really happened yet. The Blazers, the first ones on the docket tonight, taking on the Cavs. But when it comes to the fifth quarter, we'll have plenty of score updates because this is what's going down tonight in the NBA at 4:30. The Charlotte Hornets taking on the Brooklyn Nets. That should be a fun one as the 5'11 Hornets look to grab win number 6 against the Nets, who are playing some pretty decent basketball. Pacers taking on the Heat also at 4:30. Can the Heat stop Tyrese Halliburton, who has been on an absolute tear as of late? Yes, the Blazers got the win, but boy, howdy, he's playing like a top 15 player in this league, averaging a double-double, been incredible. Pistons taking on the Nets or Knicks. Can the Knicks hand the Pistons their 16th loss in a row? Oh boy, that team is dysfunctional right now. Monty Williams doesn't seem to have the answers. 5 o'clock, you got Bucks versus the Bulls. Giannis taking on DeMar DeRozan and co. Also at 5 o'clock, you got the Jazz taking on the Timberwolves. The 13-4 Western Conference leading Minnesota Timberwolves. Who thought you'd be saying that at the end of November? You got Lakers Thunder tipping off at the exact same time as well. Hawks taking on the Spurs. And the last matchup of the night, 7 p.m., NBA TV, Clippers taking on the Warriors. Who recently got the news that Gary Payton II is out with an injury, which led to all sorts of Toradol jokes on social media. If you know, you know. All right, getting into the YouTube chats. Again, the Fritz over here says, if we keep the Cavs close to, I can't even see what it says because there's this like real heart emoji that won't go away. Close to 100 tonight, I believe is what he says. We win. Can the Blazers do it? I think they can. Their defense, man, it's been spot on, has it not? It's been really nice to see. Granted, the game against OKC earlier kind of threw their defensive rating for a loop, but overall, it's nice to see. And like, if the Blazers finish the year, say they are 20th in defensive rating, that's a win. Like, that's an improvement over being 29th, right? Being 30th. That's an improvement, and that's what I'd like to see. And I think the Cavs are a team that they can throw some fits around, mismatch them with a little bit, make them work. As the saying goes, and make it not easy. And that's what you got to do against this Cleveland team. Now, last time they matched up, it was a 109-95 victory for Cleveland. But again, Portland didn't have Malcolm Brogdon in that game. And I think you've been seeing straight up right now that Malcolm Brogdon makes a difference. Like, the minute he came back from injury, you're like, yeah, this team looks different. This team looks at what's going on. I like what I'm seeing. And Skylar Mays played in that game. And again, Skylar Mays deserves all the credit in the world for being a very, very good depth point guard for this team. And what I mean by depth point guard is he's not your primary starter. He is not your primary backup. However, if you have injuries along that line and you need someone to step in, I fully trust Skylar Mays can give you a couple of really good games. And I like that because I think there's been depth at times at that point guard position that you're like, you got Dame and then our two shooting guards, CJ and Ant, will back him up because we have nothing behind him. But Malcolm Brogdon, I think, makes a big difference in this one. I absolutely do. And so can they keep them below 100, as some of our YouTube commenters say? That will be the task. And can they do it? I think the answer is yes. I mean, yes, they lost by 14 points, but Cleveland only scored 109 in that first matchup. So that's going to be the tough part. All right. Vegas says Cavs hit 11-6, as in 116. Okay. Here's then the question to you. Are you betting the over? Are you betting the under? You know what? Just for funds, I don't bet, but I'm taking the under on that one. I want to see a really good defensive performance. Of course, being at home does help if you are Cleveland. But that is, again, it's an interesting betting line if you were going to go that way. Portland, defensively, I think they are better. You also had 2 days rest, which is nice. It's going to be a battle, though, because, gosh, Cleveland has scorers, right? I mean, we all know who Donovan Mitchell is. Portland's seen him for many a year, whether it was wearing a Cleveland jersey or a Jazz jersey, averaging 28 points per game right now. That's the tough go right there. Of course, I think we got Mobley and Allen and all sorts of good players for that team. It's just a matter of putting it together. Going to be a tough one, though. Absolutely. Gary chimes in. Burkhardt, what's up? Let's go Blazers. What's up, Gary? Thanks for tuning in. Gary's a good listener over here who loves the high school sports around the States. Likes to come find Preston and I if we're ever in a random high school gym across the Portland metro area, which, by the way, high school basketball did start yesterday with the first matchups of the season. So get ready for another great basketball year. Gotta text my man Preston here in a second and be like, hey, so what's the haps? When we gonna get into a gym and get on the call? So fun calling the high school games, and you get a chance to see some great players along the way, like Jackson Shellstad, who is now a Duck, dealing with an injury, but he was great in high school. Had to fill in the shoes and the shadow left by a guy a couple years prior to him by the name of Peyton Pritchard, who went on to do great things at Oregon, and many NBA fans know because he does a pretty good job there with the Celtics as well. So don't sleep on Oregon high school hoops, my friends. Let's see. Kirk says close losses. It's my favorite. Okay. I just like the fact right now, guys, that when they do lose, like even the Milwaukee one, yes, they blew the 26-point lead, but you see a lot of good things. I mean, you could say they blew that lead, but who would have predicted going in that, yep, Portland's going to get a 26-point lead at some point in this game? I would have laughed at you. Okay, whatever you say, guy. But crazier things have happened. Right now, what I look for in every single one of these games is how does this team play? Do they play with some fight? Do they play with some hunger? Do they make other teams work? Do they continue to give you that defensive effort, which is key right now? Maybe they'll learn it in the long run, but you have to have the effort on that end. They're giving it. And that's what I want to continue to see every night from these guys. If you take the L, you take the L. Take it on the chin, move on, learn from it. Because that's what's important for this team right now. Learning, developing, getting better. All right, coming up next, it's going to be our Coors. I don't know why I can't say Coors. Coors Cold Hard Truths. What are your cold hard truths for this game and the Blazers as a whole? Get them in the chat. We'll talk about them when we return right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Welcome back into Blazers Game Day. Chris Burkhardt here, filling in for Chad Doing. Chad will have you at 3 o'clock for the Blazers pregame show, filling in for Mike Lynch today. And we'll get you here for the next half hour. And it is time now to get to the cold hard facts, right? Is that what we said? Let's do it. Fact number 1. I always like to do 3. Can I do them? Also, bricks and joysticks. Hello. That's right. Get in on the chat, guys. Get in on the YouTube chat. I will acknowledge you for better or for worse. I'll have fun. I love it. It keeps the conversation going. You guys are amazing tonight. Fact number 1. It's going to take time with Scoot. It's just going to take time. He's a young guard here. He's dealt with a bunch of not a bunch, but an injury that took him off the court. He's struggling to get into that flow. Went from, hey, we're going to be the starter, to now he's on the bench. What can he do? I think he's playing well. 2 games in a row, tied his career high 13 points. Can he better that tonight? That'd be wonderful, would it not? To watch him go out there, maybe he gets 15, 16 points, nice handful of assists, continues to improve and look better. That's what he could do. It's going to take time, but I'm not worried about him. Not worried about him at all. At least not yet. It's going to take a minute for this man. Okay, fact number 2. Toumani Camara, I think, is the real deal, too. The Blazers may have got something special in this kid. He's only scoring a handful of points, but defensively, he plays the type of defense that can motivate the other 4 players on the court, that can change how they play defense. And if he continues to get better at that end, sky's the limit. Now, I know everyone automatically goes to the Scottie Pippen comparison because he has the same number, forearm band. I said this to Chad, like if he could just be like a Tayshaun Prince type player, right? And Tayshaun Prince in that run with the Pistons was a great lockdown defender, found a way to get into that corner, hit that 3-point shot, played great, really, really good 3-and-D player. A player that coincidentally Coach Billups also knows a lot about, played with him, right? Then I think you're on to something with Toumani. And some people worry about like Thibault getting relegated to the bench and how that impacts him. Like Thibault's a bench player, guys. He wasn't the full-time starter in Philly. He just started a full-time handful of games when needed, but he's a bench rotation guy. And I think he's also more comfortable in that spot because of who it puts him against, what it allows him to do, what it allows with flexibility and some rotations. He's been a juggernaut defensively over the last week or so for Portland. Shout out friend of the show, Busted Bucket Podcast and Trailcaster Podcast co-host of mine, Tim. He mentioned, like, what if you just saw a lineup? Like, what if they started Thibault and put him next to Kamara? Just let those two just go ham on defense? I mean, not in the long run, but if you want to go do that for a game just to have some fun, why not? And then what is fact number 3 today? We're going to scour the back of my brain, and that fact is just wait, guys, until Ant gets back. It's a fact. Once they get that shooter back, this offense is going to look different, and it might look like the offense that Chauncey truly wants. The ability to put Scoot in that one spot, let him dish out to some pure shooters outside along the arc. And I think when Ant gets back and you actually get a true shooter on the floor, because again, is Brogdon a true shooter? No, he's a multi-tool guy. He's a baseball utility player, right? Is Scoot a shooter? Absolutely not. He's an attacker. Kamara, we know. Jeremy Grant's a good shooter. But when you get Jeremy Grant on one side and then you can put Ant on the other and defenses have to come out a little bit, then you might start to see the best of DeAndre Ayton because defenses cannot afford to collapse into the paint at all times. Hopefully that improves his passing game as well because he's going to have to get out of there. And, okay, they're double teaming me. There's Jeremy in the corner. They're going to get to Jeremy. Jeremy swings it around. He finds Ant on the other side. Buckets. Can't wait. I can't wait as he inches closer as he's dealing with that thumb ligament injury. And let me tell you what, I don't know if anyone in the chat has torn a thumb ligament or a ligament in their hand. I know, I believe it was Dirt Monk Fritz, code name, this morning, who said he's torn his Achilles before. No thanks. but I've torn ligaments in my hand, and that is no fun. Now, granted, it wasn't the thumb, it was the pinky, but the weirdest part is you don't realize how much tension and torque goes through your wrist and your hand until you have a torn ligament in there. Like, if I moved my arm too fast and that little bit of pressure pushed those fingers back, like, oh yeah. And then that little, it doesn't even happen enough to see it when you're moving your hand like this, but just that snap of the fingers back and forth. Oh yeah. That ligament would scream to me, telling me that it was not good. And yeah, that hurts. So when you take that and you put it into the thumb and you got the big muscle at the bottom of your hand as well, and you have to try to dribble that ball, shoot that ball because it's on your shooting hand. No thanks. And again, think of the wrist flick when you shoot a ball, right? And all of that pressure and energy that goes through your arm, through your wrist, through the tip of your fingers. Yeah. No thanks. No thanks. So hopefully he's going to get better soon. I think the original return date's kind of December 16th. There's been videos about out there about him prepping and getting ready, so that's nice to see. All right, back to the YouTube chat. You want to get in on the chat, you know what to do. Head to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, like, share, subscribe. Shout out to the Orb. He's like, everyone, thumbs up it. Now we have like 6 thumbs up, and that's nice because I don't think anyone ever actually thumbs up. It helps the algorithm, guys. So thank you for that. Tony does chime in. Good afternoon, Chris. Like the hat and the guns you brought today. If you think I'm packing arms today, that's just got to be lighting in the camera, man. I got to hit the gym a little bit. I don't have the upper arm strength there that our man Justin Myers in the morning does. Don't ask me to arm wrestle. All right. Also, some comments, you can't just make the comment and not just elaborate. Like, you just make everyone go, whoa, really? And that's Rachel, who's like, hey, hello from the alpaca farm. What? Oh, come on. We got to get one of those on the show. Can I have an emotional support alpaca? Alpaca? There's another word I'm struggling to get through today. Everyone has their words, right? That they just can't get out no matter what. Apparently alpaca is one of them. Let's see. Orb says 6 is infinitely more than 0, right? Sure, I guess so. I don't know what I'm missing. Did I say something to lead to that? Because I may have, and I don't even remember. That's the kind of day we're having. But what do you guys want to see tonight against the Cavaliers? What do you want to see? I want to see that defense again. I want to see some shots making, man. I want to see some shots making. Shots made. I just go ham. Get the offense rolling. You saw it against Milwaukee right in that first half when they went up big, that this team can make shots, and when they do, they look good. It's just the unfortunate part is that the offense, it's not going to be what it was when you had 2 absolute elite guards, scoring guards like that in Dame and CJ, right? Like that, those 2 guys. I mean, we watched Damian Lillard drop a 70-piece. A 70-piece. I don't know if there's anyone on this team that could sniff that. That's what we want to see, though. Just go out there and score. Get the ball moving. Have some fun. I would love to see Scoot have a game tonight. Have a game. That would make me happy. If Scoot hits 20, I'm going to be so excited. Yes, here we go. Maybe this is the start of something big. And I don't think I'm alone because looking at, again, the YouTube chat, the Orb, I want to see standout Scoot performance. Scoot, Wild Thing, Henderson. I see what you did there. Fritz. Wild Thing, Cleveland. Shout out to Travis Demers as YouTube watches me almost drop my blender bottle full of water. Travis Demers sent me a video today of just a random statue. And he's like, do you get it? And I just sent him a gif of the Wild Thing with the quotes to the opening of Major League, right? There's a bad moon rising over the Cuyahoga River, going down to Cleveland to the lake. And he's like, I'm so glad you got it. I'm like, of course I got it. You and I are baseball guys. Like, it's a fun spot. Gary chimes in. He's like, yeah, I sprained my ankle in City League play after high school. Tried to come back early in time for the City League playoffs. Ended up tearing the ligaments in my other ankle. That sucked. You know what? That's a really interesting point that you make, Gary, that I don't even know you're trying to make. Now, Ant won't necessarily have to worry about it with the hands, but that's things you worry about with, like, when uh, Scoot has the sprained ankle and not rushing him back just because it's the natural way the body works. If I have an injury to one side, the other side's going to work harder to overcompensate for that. And that could lead to other injuries if you're not careful. So if I have a sprained right ankle, I go out there and play on it and have to put my left side through so much extra effort and stress, there's a high probability there's an injury that happens there. And it might not be the ankle, it could be the hip, it could be the knee, it could be anything as you're trying to overstress that. And then to your point, like you went out there, had the injury, came back a little bit earlier and ended up doing more damage, but to the opposite side because you're probably playing in a way that is not natural because you're like, okay, every time I put weight on this one ankle, it hurts. So I'm going to put more on the other side and I'm going to hurt myself. And that's what happens more often than not. Now, you don't have to worry about that with Ant so much because there's not really a way for, the left hand's going to try to overcompensate in the way that maybe you end up watching him dribble more with his left hand, but he's still going to have to take those shots right-handed, and there's really no way around that. No really way around that. All right, going to take our final break of the show. When we come back, it is time for our keys to the game. Keys to a Blazer victory. What are your keys? Go to youtube.com right now, type in Rip City Radio, find our page, like, share, subscribe. Give me your keys. We'll talk about them when we return on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, welcome back to Blazers Game Day. Got a few minutes left before we hand over to the man Chad Doing with the Blazers pregame show. And then, of course, a 4 o'clock tip, Blazers Cavs in the city of Cleveland. All right, time for my keys to the game. First key to the game, attack defensively, especially Donovan Mitchell. The Cavs beat the Hawks just 2 nights ago, 128, excuse me, 128-105. Donovan Mitchell doing Donovan Mitchell things. Dropped a 40-piece, shooting 14 of 25. He is just as good as ever. And if you're the Blazers, you got to find a way to stop him. And he's one of those things you can't stop, but maybe you can slow him down. And that would be key for the Blazers. And keep in mind, I mean, the Blazers got the win over the Pacers on Monday and were able to slow them down a little bit. And this is a Pacer team that has the number 1 offense in the league. So those things are important. So can they stop Mitchell? No, but slowing him down would be key. Another thing I think is going to be a really big decider in this one is how well DeAndre Ayton and Jeremy Grant and whoever else gets in those spots, with guys like Tamani and Jabari Walker as well, do on the glass. You're going to have to attack the glass hard. Cleveland has 2 really good rebounders in Allen and Mobley, and they're a top 10 rebounding team, taking on the Blazers, who are a bottom 3 rebounding team. And even though that difference is only about 4 rebounds per game, those rebounds can come in handy if you're the Cavaliers, especially if you get them on the offensive side of the ball. I think the third key to this game is, surprisingly, the Cavs, even with guys like D. Mitch and stuff, they're not a super high profile 3-point shooting team. They take 32 per game, which is 7th fewest in the NBA, and they're only hitting at 35%, which is about middle of the pack. So the Blazers really have to lock down defensively because they know that this team's going to attack. They're going to hit within the mid-range, and they're going to attack the paint and use those big bodies. So how do DeAndre Ayton, Jeremy Grant, maybe a little bit of Duop Reith, how do they deal with those guys as they attack the rim? And then I guess a fourth key to the game here is just keeping DeAndre Ayton out of foul trouble. Because if he gets into foul trouble, then the Cavs are going to be able to cook down low, and that's a recipe for disaster. Let's see. Is that my best Brian Noe impersonation? I mean, is it a good one? I mean, I didn't say it was Brian Noe, but you guys knew it. It's because I've said it before. But Chad Doing, it's not like Boeing. It's doing like oh, it sounds like a sound effect you'd hear in a movie, like watching a cartoon, right? Bugs Bunny gets hit over the head with an anvil. Doing like that. That's what it sounds like. That is our friend Brian Noe. That's what we talk about on this show. So what else do you guys have? What are your keys to the game? Those are it for me. Can the Blazers grab this win? Absolutely, they can. They just got to do those little things, because this is a team in Cleveland that they'll attack you until they find that crack in that defense. And once they do, they're going to hit it hard until the wall eventually breaks. And Portland, how do you deal with that adversity? It's going to take a lot of Tamani Kamara, Matisse Thybulle, who, again, underrated this season for what he's been doing, because he's been relegated to the bench, but he's coming in and he's been playing like just an absolute defensive juggernaut. Really, he's been really, really good on that end. They had the play a couple games ago where he goes into the passing lane with his left hand, I believe it was. Maybe it was his right hand. I think it was his right hand, misses the ball, instantly turns around, swipes with his left hand, gets his hand on the ball. And that's just a heads-up play, knowing that even though I miss on this first attempt, they're still trying to get the ball through that passing lane. So how can I stop it? And he's been really, really good on that. And Tamani Kamara has been as well. And if you can get those stops defensively, and then this is the night that scoots, and he does his thing, then it's a recipe for a win. And you can go get it. And the wins are going to be hard to come by this year. We know that. But you got Malcolm Brogdon, who's playing great. You got Jeremy Grant, who's playing great. DeAndre Ayton's playing great. Now you just need some of those little auxiliary pieces to step up and have good games. Shaedon Sharpe has struggled a little bit. Would love to see him have a bounce-back game. It doesn't even have to be a game where he goes out and drops 25 or 30 or what have you. Just like have a game where you're not 14 of 13. Or excuse me, 14 of 13 would be really good. Where you're not 4 of 13. You know, if he goes out and he has a game and he's 7 to 10, it's a good spot. That's what you want to see. If you're Scoot, what I want to see, if there's just one thing I could see from Scoot tonight, I want to see him pick, roll, drive. Give me some of those highlights we saw with the Ignite. The Scoot that is an attacker. The Scoot that made you go, that reminds me a lot of Derrick Rose. That reminds me of Ja Morant. That reminds me of Russell Westbrook. Just the offensiveness, the ability to just attack the rim, to bounce. I remember the highlight from his workout in Portland where I was just like, did he even try? Where he's like walking half speed and he just jumps and he just floats through the air. Easy dunk. I want to see that in the game. I want to see him be big and play big. There wasn't very many knocks on Damian Lillard, but one of my knocks on Dame was that he always played like he was 6'5". How many times did he go for a dunk and get rim checked? But every once in a while, he just throw a monster down and you go, yep, he's athletic. Scoot's more athletic, and I want to see it blow the roof off. All right, that music means it is time to go, but you should not go anywhere. Chad Doing coming up next with your Blazers pregame show. 4 o'clock tip-off with Travis Demers on the call. And then we'll be back here after it's all said and done with the fifth quarter live on YouTube again. So go to youtube.com/RipCityRadio. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you after the game.